the strategy was that 2020 was a big year for OHT. We were going to host a big conference. It was going to act as our fundraiser. We were looking to recruit a team. It was really about the next phase of where One HealthTech was going as an organisation. Obviously, minor detail, the pandemic happened. And so we just thought, well, this is a great opportunity to, well, at the time we called it Spring Clean, and it became a blank canvas, go back to the beginning and just really ask ourselves what it is that we do, how do we do it, and how can OHT be really a community that provides value and can put its hand on its heart and say, yes, we do things that concretely impact equality, diversity and accessibility in the health tech space. And I was not expecting to write a strategy in this way and to go back to the drawing board, but we did, and I'm so glad that we did.
So the strategy was an opportunity to truly visualize what change would look like. It was an opportunity to create structured and actionable objectives and frameworks that ensures that everyone feels included, and working towards a society where EDIA is the norm and not an exception, where we kind of identify best case studies or best practices.
During the strategy development, I was part of the campaign squad, where we focused on how collections of related activities could be used by OHT to affect change and achieve specific outcomes in a defined timeframe. We considered aspects such as what a definition of a campaign was, why they should be run, and how ideas for them may enter the community. One of the outputs from this was a broad set of guidelines for proposing, running, and evaluating a One HealthTech campaign. And this is something that we're continuing to build on.
I think what really impressed me the most during the strategy jog that we had this summer was how so many people working in various smaller teams managed to produce actually so much work with an incredibly loose structure. And it's honestly one of the truly amazing things about OHT, that it's a real grassroots community. And this actually makes me really excited to see how it will grow, how it will morph, how it will change in the future.
I was the coordinator for the Equality, Diversity, Inclusion and Accessibility Squad. So within the squad, we had lots of brainstorming around EDIA, our grand visions for an equitable health tech future, and the role OHT can play from an EDIA perspective. And each activity centered around the applications of futures and foresight methods to varied EDIA agendas. So how can we set the direction for EDIA true values and principles, but making them actionable? Thinking about the system's behavior. So how can we create tools and resources that would empower OHT volunteers to advocate for change in their geographies? Then we looked at developing pathways. So who are we trying to reach? How can we do that? And how can OHT lead by example? And I think having a structured approach to thinking about these EDIA challenges enabled us to put together the vision for OHT's EDIA work. And it was also really, really fun. We had a lot of passionate individuals who care about change and making an impact. I think what was most surprising for me was the starting point. Call me a dreamer, but I always believed that everyone is also striving for change that benefits all. Yet more work needs to be done to build the momentum for EDIA outside the bubble of change makers, advocates, and people who believe in it. We have other EDIA challenges that are much more nuanced, unrecognized biases, institutional practices that are no longer fit for purpose, and more like this. So recognizing that everyone might not be at the same level and leaving room for conversations and discussion. That was what I think I learned the most whilst working on the strategy.
So my role in the strategy was the kind of wrangler, and I did this with a few other people, but my role was mostly to assimilate all the different ideas that our squad bringing up and the questions that they had, and help knitting together the gaps between different pockets of ideas and sub-strategies, I guess. My job was to ensure meetings went ahead in the right way possible, but the meetings were useful and that people were connecting in the best way possible. In order for this strategy to be truly co-produced, the architecture of the process and how people felt in the process and how free people felt in the process to ask difficult questions and flag real problems with how the community was doing what it was doing was a really, really important thing. So yeah, I loved it. I loved being the wrangler and the listener. So for me, the strategy work was a massive learning experience in a way that I hadn't quite expected. Even though I was involved in initiating it, I didn't expect it to turn out in the way it did. I was so pleasantly surprised by the outcome of what happens when you give a group of almost random people, many of whom don't know one another, a blank canvas, and you trust them to ask the questions they need asking and to genuinely be receptive to the solutions that they provide. I will have walked away from this exercise feeling like we've written a strategy that really works for a broad range of people from different ages, different backgrounds, different perspectives, and it's not come out of my head. You know, that can be the case sometimes with co-founders. You dictate a lot of the vision, and it feels really nice that that's been given away to a huge number of members of the community to write themselves, and not to be too sort of earnest and grand about it, but determine their own destiny as the community that they want to be part of and they want to be involved in leading and driving and supporting.